Hey everybody, this is Cyrus, and well, I want to do an update because it's been, I think, like 3 weeks since the last update, and maybe this is the home stretch of the great Philippines lockdown. It's been a lot of craziness, and presumably they're going to reopen flights, international flights, on the 20th of June, and right now it's the 6th of June. So we have a little bit of time left to go. I'm definitely going to stay here though for at least a full month, or if not longer. Kind of, have a little bit of a life built here in Davao because I've been here for so long, and I'm sure my girlfriend here would appreciate it if I stayed longer. So I'm going to stay as long as I can, but eventually I will have to depart. There's a lot of craziness in Davao, stuff that I have not been too impressed by. A lot of overreactions. For example, at the beginning of the month, actually, it might have been the beginning of last month, the Davao government was digging mass graves because they expected so many people to die when they changed from the enhanced quarantine into the general quarantine. Of course, that did not happen. All over the world, people overreact to these things. You have Duterte himself, the president, said that there will be no schools opening until there's a vaccine, which is, I think, I think that's a gigantic mistake, because what we're seeing is the Philippines economy just being completely run into the gutter. Because if there's no one going to school, there's nobody advancing their lot in life, and opportunities are just going to completely disappear. And waiting for a vaccine has got to be probably the dumbest idea in history, and I think it will be known as the dumbest idea in history. And it's not just the president of Philippines, but also certain governors and people back home in the States who have the same mentality. Meanwhile, you have guys like Dr. Fauci back in the States who made it very clear that a vaccine might not work. There may be no solution from a vaccine. It may not immunize us completely. The virus may mutate. All kinds of things can happen. So a virus is not a sure thing. We've also seen that the lockdowns, when you end a lockdown, there is not a substantial increase in infections. That's being demonstrated again and again. Again, Philippines government, which I'm not that impressed by, freaked out because the infections went up. But the only reason the infections went up was because they greatly increased the amount of testing being done. But because, nonetheless, technically speaking, the infections went up, again, the government panicked and went crazy. So there's been a lot of nonsense in this city. But as we can see, in most of the time, most days rather, the city is pretty opened up again. Today's a Sunday, which is still a lockdown day. So Sunday, everything is closed. You're not even technically supposed to be out, I think. But it's a very nice day out with the rain and everything, so I wanted to take a little walk. But most days, it's very busy again. So we have shopping malls are back, retail stores are back, electronic stores are back, nail salons are back, barber shops are back. I should probably get a haircut eventually. So it's a lot better than it was. This is, again, it's a general quarantine. Before it was the enhanced quarantine, and the home stretch is on the 15th. So June 15th is going to be the really critical day for all of this, because June 15th is when they decided to either continue the general quarantine, which is crippling the economy, or go into the modified general quarantine, which will allow even more things to open up, including hotels. So, as a nation, you can't completely destroy the tourism and hotel sector. You have to at some point open that back up again, because it's such a critical part of any country's economy. So the modified general quarantine would technically allow for tourism to come back into play again. But, the government is so skittish and so neurotic, it wouldn't surprise me if even that got delayed further. So it is very tense, and I don't really know what's going to happen. But we're all just banking on the 15th being the end of the extreme lockdown. Well, it's nice out, but I think I'm going to walk back soon. I wonder if McDonald's is open now. I don't know. On Sundays, I don't know. So anyway, so that's my situation in Philippines. Meanwhile, the situation back home in the USA just keeps getting crazier and crazier all the time. And I don't even think I want to be back in the States now. By all means, it seems like we're going on the path of some kind of civil war in America. And as you may have noticed, that has taken on the news cycle is the civil unrest in the States. That's the main story these days, at least on the American stations. And you know, it's creepy because I feel like this is just going to keep escalating and escalating. Let's see if I can get back without falling and tripping to my death. Hey, doggy. So it seems like it's going to just keep escalating and escalating. And this was a very symbolic sign. Self-quarantine, do not enter. It's a very dystopian type of message, isn't it? Anyway. So yeah, back home it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. And it's almost, I feel like it's a good time to be in Asia. You have Asian countries all over the place, with the exception of Philippines, of course, but there's countries all over the place in Asia that have basically beaten the virus already. Thailand has beaten it, Vietnam has beaten it, Malaysia has basically beaten it. Meanwhile, the West and such places are still struggling. Hold on 1 second, let me. It's a Sunday, so when I see anybody coming towards me, I get paranoid because I think technically they could like arrest me for not being in quarantine right now because no one's supposed to be out on Sundays still. But as you can see, there's plenty of people out in traffic still. Man, I can't wait until this nightmare is over. But anyway, yeah. So so Asia just seems like I would hedge my bets on Asia. It's just not. You know, there's no sign of it's almost like the West is now having its time to have some kind of crazy dystopian, I don't know, revolution to happen. Because Asian countries, you know, have dealt with that in the past. It's almost like now it's the time for people in the West to find out how fun Marxism really is, you know? Cambodia found out, Russia found out, China found out. Okay, so now if in America they want to get rid of police stations and, you know, create some kind of socialist class hierarchy system and have, you know, civil unrest until they get their way, then okay. Then let's see how well that works out, you know. You can look back in history at a lot of countries that have done similar things. Maybe, you know, when we talk about abolishing the police, that really is just code for replacing the police with a different police, which would be ideologically aligned to what they want, which would basically be like in, you know, groups of enforcers. So when we talk about replacing police, that's really what they mean, and it's quite terrifying for me, you know. So I really don't think that I want to be hanging around in the country where that's even being considered. And basically a lot of this stuff has to just clear out, I think, before I'd even feel comfortable going home. And I'm glad I waited longer because, you know, it's not just the virus. The virus was almost just the kindling, you know, the kindling in the match, and the real fire is going to be caused by the problems in American culture, I think. Well, that's it basically for this video. So still here in Philippines, almost 3 months into the lockdown. Still a lockdown going on. Still crazy. Still the most heavily locked down country in the world, I think. You know, taking the longest to reopen many of the things that other countries have reopened already. So it's still definitely a challenge, but you know, it's getting better. I know the economy, the country is basically destroying itself as we speak, and you know, the government knows they can't keep doing that forever. They have to ease up the lockdowns eventually, or else there won't be a Philippines anymore. They know that, and so they have to open back up again. They have to get the airplanes working again. They have to get the tourism back, or that's the end of it. You know, and you know, I mean, the amount of people who have died from COVID in the last 3 months, it's still so much fewer than the amount of people who die from like tuberculosis in this country. It's a fraction. All right, well, I'm gonna head back inside now. Again, nice day out, nice rain. Figured I'd make a quick video. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys on the next video.